Inflation running at a 40-year high. Americans are paying sky-high prices for their necessities, energy, food, things they need, pay up. Joining me now is Fat Brands International Chairman Ed Rensi. He's the former CEO of McDonald's USA and Famous Dave's Barbecue. Ed, what are you seeing in terms of the impact of these surging prices in the food business and customers of those businesses?
Well, it's a very difficult situation, to say the least. This Biden administration economic policies are absolutely destroying the bottom line in these restaurants. Prices in the major chains are up about 15% in the last 2 years. Food cost is going through the roof. Freight, long-haul freight, coast to coast, border to border, is up about 100% because of fuel surcharges. Every place you look in the supply chain, there's disruptions because of cost, fuel cost, labor shortage. The shortage of truck drivers is unbelievable. The hours these men and women are working hauling this produce to market is unbelievable. We're going to hit a point of inelasticity. The customers are not going to put up with this for much longer. I'm really fearing a recession is right around the corner. I'm starting to see very little change in the cost. I see a big change in the menu. We're seeing smaller portions. Things are coming off the menu that have high food costs. Promotions are focusing on products like buy this and buy that and get a free drink because the cost of a soft drink is so low. There's a real disruption in the restaurant chain from beginning to end, and I don't see any solution anytime soon. We can't keep raising prices the way we're doing it. I know a lot of companies that want to grow and build new sites, but between the cost of goods sold and labor shortages, my goodness gracious, we have so many job openings right now. And California's going to pass this legislation for a 32-hour work week. That means we're going to have to go to an 8-day scheduling program, 4 hours, 4 days and 4 days. Anything overtime is a time and a half. At the minimum wage we're paying right now to hire people, that's going to be $24 an hour to work on the 33rd hour. I mean, that's just crazy to have teenagers working in a fast food restaurant making that kind of money. It's not sustainable, Dagan. It just isn't sustainable.
Liz Peek, get in here.
Yeah, so I guess the question for a business manager is how much do you just pass along those increased costs in the way of price increases, or what can you do to bring costs down? Are you investing in automation? I mean, are there ways you can cut the amount of labor you need? What's your response?
Well, the reality of it is, if you look at a typical fast food restaurant 15 years ago, they had about 50 to 60 employees. Today, they're down to 35. I'm working right now with 4 digital platforms to replace people in the restaurants with off-site workers that are taking the delivery orders, that are taking drive-through orders, that are branding employees that can work across multiple brands that move from place to place to place on a demand basis and get paid immediately. They get paid when they're into shift. So there's a lot of automation coming into place. There's a lot of technology that's starting to replace people. There's companies right now that are using robotics to do simple things in the restaurant that people used to do. We're losing a lot of tribal knowledge as well. The thing that scares me, we're seeing a lot of people retire out of the food industry, and we're losing that tribal knowledge. We're losing the experience to help mentor young people into the workforce. So there's a lot of bad socioeconomic issues at play here.
Ed, so you do think we're in a recession now, that we've already entered one?
Well, I think we're getting doggone close if we're not there. The thing that scares me is, I live in the state of Florida, and the economy's pumping pretty good down here because we got good leadership and good governance, and we got people moving into the state. But you look at Illinois, you look at New York City, boy, things are starting to get ugly there. Crime rates are having an adverse effect on these restaurants as well, because people won't come downtown and visit these restaurants. So there's certain places right now that I think we're starting to see recession pretty significantly. Now, the question becomes one of, are we going to raise prices so high and shrink portions so small the consumers are going to say this just isn't a value anymore? I don't know, but it's getting awfully close. It feels like Nixon, Carter, price and wage controls all over again.
Wait, say that again. It feels like Nixon and Arthur Burns.
Well, when I was a young fellow in Philadelphia, I lived through the problem of price and wage controls, and we got to a point where we couldn't buy meat because we couldn't process it. It feels like that all over again. We're right at that. It just feels the same to me that we're getting ready to do something dramatic. Not the government. It's just going to happen naturally. This is not sustainable.
We'll never underestimate this administration for its ability to do something like epically, unimaginably stupid.
Boy, we agree.
It's not just in government. It's in the private sector, too. And you're partnering with a team of advocacy groups to launch the Boardroom Initiative. And it's a coalition with a mission to fight back against woke corporate politics. Tell us more about that.
Well, I look at it this way. I think we need to educate boards and executives of companies to understand that their primary duty is to the shareholder. I had lunch with Milton Friedman one time, and he said very clear to me, he said, young man, you're an executive in a company. Your social responsibility is to increase profits for the shareholders, give them in terms of dividends and increased stock, and allow them to spend money to do social engineering. That is not the province of corporations. And I feel badly for the people of Disney and their customers. You know, it's Fantasyland, it's the kingdom. You should be able to go there and have fun, and we shouldn't be engineering social engineering in Disney parks. And their principles and what they've done is alienate a huge part of their audience, which is going to have an adverse effect on the stock eventually and the company in total. So my opinion is this very simply. Executives have a responsibility to be inclusive, and there should be equality, and we should have programs in place to elevate everybody that works for us. If we want people of color, of national origins different than ourselves, if we want them as customers, we better have them as suppliers and employees, and we need to create programs to elevate everybody equally. And all we're doing is saying, if you guys are going to do something like this, we want to see that you have an audit of civil rights so people no one loses their civil rights. Everybody is treated with equality, and that everybody's rights are preserved under our Constitution. This is, I hope, going to be a great educational opportunity, and we got to give some of these executives cover because they're getting beat up from all sides right now, and we need to start speaking out for everybody in this country. You know, the framers of our government feared the tyranny of the minority, and we got to be careful about how we operate both companies and our country.
Ed Rensi, a pleasure, sir. Take care of yourself. We'll see you again soon.